Hello, and welcome to A Slice of Pie, the semi-weekly news show that we do on this channel. How is everybody doing? I'm actually having a really great week. It's actually one of the busiest weeks of the year for me, mainly because I work in retail, and so as you can imagine, with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all that baloney, I'm all like dead on the inside. That's why my eyes look like I belong in a rock/punk band, and I am a little scruffy. I need to clean up a little bit, but the tech news. But actually, more importantly, why it's a high note is if you look at Nova. Do you see this new front panel? This new front panel that I made. I made it, and I'm putting up the video on how I made it next week. So yeah, when I finally put that panel on and it looked like that, I was like, oh. You can tell I'm tired. But yeah, super stoked on how that came out. I think it looks phenomenal. Reddit thinks it looks phenomenal. Thank you, Reddit peoples. You guys are all actually pretty awesome, I will say. The PC Master Race subreddit is one of the most wholesome communities I've ever been on. So yeah. Digressing though. Yeah. Let's kind of talk about, I guess, the other awesome stuff going on in the world. So, hell froze over. Nvidia's GSync is about to work with AMD cards. This is strange, as flipping the little switch to allow a graphics card made by Nvidia to work with FreeSync is simple, but making it so that your competitor's card can work on your specially designed hardware, that's not so simple. Nvidia is playing the good guy role, but only because then they can sell G-Sync monitors that are FreeSync compatible. Realistically, I think Nvidia's main goal with this, though, is to sell more G-Sync monitors, because every G-Sync monitor has a Nvidia chip in it. It's actually created. It's the G-Sync module. So realistically, they could use this to, I guess, sell more, because right now they're getting sold out of hand by the FreeSync stuff because now it's compatible. But then they had to make everything FreeSync compatible so that they could compete with Intel, who's also FreeSync compatible. But now Intel's not having a good time. So, I mean, it's just, it's a mess right now. But it's all happening. Speaking of a mess, but a good mess, Threadripper. Threadripper. Now, we talked about it last week on how it was like tearing up the competition, but it's actually been confirmed and announced. 64 cores. That's right, a 64-core Threadripper is coming next year. And I am like, oh my god, I cannot afford this, but if I could, I would totally buy it. But still, the 64-core Threadripper is just, oh my goodness, like, just doing the calculations of clocks per second, that thing's insane. And that being said, they already have a 64-core Rome processor, but if it's at the actual, like, IPC of Threadripper, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, they say PCs take off every, like, 10 years. There's, like, a huge gap. But I didn't expect one like this, really. I did not expect us to hit 64 cores on a prosumer level chip. And it's already in the server space, but a prosumer level 64 core, I did not expect it. So that's pretty cool, I gotta say. It may seem like we're talking about AMD a lot today, but there's a pretty good reason. They've actually dominated the news cycle for once, which they never do. This is evident by the fact that 60% of European shoppers who were surveyed said that they want to build with AMD in their next system. This is huge because before it was only Intel. with like, I think a low 30% who wanted to build with AMD. Now, the perception has changed drastically, and it's starting to show too, also on the Steam hardware survey, where AMD is now taking 20% of the market share. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to remember that the Steam hardware survey surveys anything that runs Steam and is currently connected when the survey launches. That means that your craptastic laptop that runs Intel integrated graphics, well, that also counts if you're using something like Wallpaper Engine, which I use. So, but I use it on my AMD system. Digressing, yeah, so essentially, like, you gotta take the Steam hardware surveys always with a grain of salt, but to see AMD finally up there is a good sign for things to come. And then the final AMD story, Gamers Nexus, they did a review on the CutePet GPU, and that thing is actually adorable, and it worked well. So they got a hold of one that's the RX 5700 XT Waifu Edition. And she's a hot card. No, not physically hot. She's words. I don't have the words to describe this. It is hot. It runs hot. It runs hotter than the thick card. And she's not even that thick. Speaking of thick, the Cybertruck. I don't know how that thing's thick, but the Cybertruck got announced at some point last week. And that thing, it's a warthog. We're taking it to Mars. We're going to colonize Mars with warthogs. The PS5 Dev Kit is real. Not only is it real, but we saw it running, actually. In fact, we saw the PS5 controller connected to the PS5 Dev Kit. And guess what? It looks exactly the same as the PS4 controller and the PS3 controller before it. Actually, no. I think they all improved off of the PS3 controller, to be completely honest. That one was the worst DualShock controller out of all of them. But digressing, it's so that you can stack the dev kits on top of each other, so that you can actually keep them in a very confined space and not have as many issues with cooling. This is actually a pretty smart idea. Granted, I highly doubt that it's going to trickle into the main console, as such a design would be rather unsightly. Granted, we do have the Cybertruck, so why not? Star Citizen, the game that has been essentially in development for almost a decade now, I think, has raised $250 million. Sorry, million dollars. That is preposterous. I mean, for an independently developed game, I think it is currently the most expensive game ever created. Now, granted, it has become 2 games instead of just 1 game, but still, that's kind of both impressive and terrifying that people are willing to spend that much money on a game that's barely even out yet, even if it is out at all. I think it's pretty much in alpha state only, so yeah, but there is something there at least, and there is something playable, so I guess that kind of works in its favor, but still, $250 million. I know you guys want Zelda Maker. I mean, I would love a Zelda Maker. They kind of teased it in the latest Zelda game where you can make your own dungeons. But how about we give you Mario Maker and we put Link in it? That's Nintendo's mindset, because the new Master Sword power-up for the 8-bit world allows you to play as Link in a Mario game. And it's not just like a little bit of Link, it's like actually a lot of Link. You can use his sword, you can use his shield, you can use his arrows, you can use his bombs. I think he even jumps, which is wow. But it's just really, it's it's cool. I love it. It's the perfect amount of cheese in a Mario Maker game. Last week, we reported on Half-Life Alyx, the new VR Half-Life game coming out, but it looks like it may have killed another game to get created. Valley of the Gods, game being developed by the studio who made Firewatch, is most likely dead. Well, we'll just say it's most likely dead. That studio got bought out by Valve, and essentially their first-person skills, and they really do have some serious first-person skills, are most likely just being moved over to the VR title for Alex. And many of the staff that were working on it are saying that they're no longer working on it. Now, this is Valve. It could just be indefinitely on hiatus. I mean, Half-Life 3 is still on hiatus. Alex isn't Half-Life 3, but still, it's close. It's very, very close. I could taste it. I can taste the Half-Life that's going to come out of this in like 2 decades. 20 years from now, Half-Life 3 is going to launch. You heard it here first, people! Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, you can leave a like, comment, subscribe. I am a ball of energy, even though I shouldn't be. So, thank you guys again. Wolfie.